Day in Las Vegas, by the way. Boy, do we have a jam-packed show lined up for you today, and a lot to get to and a lot to talk about. I want to remind everybody, of course, there are people watching on YouTube, on Twitter, X, I guess that's what you call it now, on Twitch, on our Facebook fan page, and of course, the Occupy Democrats Network. If you do enjoy this show and you like the content, you like what I do, you can support this show. Subscribe on the Occupy Democrats Network. It's only $5 a month, and then you're going to get extra content from yours truly just for subscribers. And coming up here in just a few minutes, we are going to be speaking with media personality, a very popular guy on social media, a radio and TV pundit, and a strong Donald Trump supporter. So you know we're going to get into it. Carmine Sabia is going to be joining us here in just a few minutes. Let's get right into it. The big news, of course, is that Ron DeSantis has backed out, aborted his campaign, for lack of a better word. Oh, wait, do I have that right? Do we have the current governor of the great state of Florida on the line with us right now? Mr. DeSantis, thank you so much for calling in and joining us. I'm sorry to hear the sad news, Governor. What are your thoughts? Oh, that's too bad. That's too bad, Governor. I'm sorry to hear that. Well, we'll let him get back to his tissues. Very sad news for you. I'm sorry, Governor. That's terrible. Well, you have your wife to take care of you. Ron DeSantis is no longer in the presidential race. Very, very sad to hear that. And for all you people out there that have been brown-nosing Ron DeSantis, he's our guy. He didn't even make it past Nikki Haley. Nikki Haley is still in the race. It's an absolute joke. This is Ron DeSantis, in his own words yesterday, announcing officially that he is suspending his campaign.
Accordingly, I am today suspending my campaign. I'm proud to have delivered on 100% of my promises, and I will not stop now.
What promises is he talking about? Banning books? Talking about critical race theory? What is he talking about? Drag queen reading? Attacking Disney? Losing tons of jobs in the state of Florida because Disney spoke up? When he says 100% of his promises, what the hell is Ron DeSantis talking about? Making it easier for felons in Florida to get their hands on guns? Yes, he invoked that bill that a felon, once out of jail in 8 years, could get their hands and buy a weapon legally. What is Ron DeSantis talking about? Sending people, migrants, on a plane to Martha's Vineyard and treating human beings as political pawns so that he could own the libs? What exactly is Ron DeSantis talking about? And this is what you want to talk about: a great endorsement, an endorsement with a ton of energy and backing. Listen to the way Ron DeSantis endorses Donald Trump. It's utterly pathetic.
Well, I've had disagreements with Donald Trump, such as on the coronavirus pandemic and his elevation of Anthony Fauci. Trump is superior to the current incumbent, Joe Biden. That is clear. I signed a pledge to support the Republican nominee, and I will honor that pledge. He has my endorsement because we can't go back to the old Republican guard of yesteryear.
Yeah, let's go to the new guard of the Republican Party, where all you talk about is gender ideology and banning books. Yeah, that's a great new Republican Party, Ronnie D. What a great endorsement. What a thrilling endorsement. It really is a joke, and it's sad, really. And I think Ron DeSantis, and I've said this before, and some people might disagree with me on this, I think you can make the argument that Ron DeSantis might be more dangerous to this country than even Donald Trump, and that's saying something. I think Ron DeSantis has dictator-type tendencies as well. For example, with what he did, with sending people on Martha's Vineyard, migrants on Martha's Vineyard, owning the libs, his attacks on the transgender community. Is this the new Republican Party? So I'm not surprised by any stretch of the imagination. I am not surprised at all that Ron DeSantis has backed out of the presidential election. I want to play you another clip, if I may, and this is Ron DeSantis talking about his family and talking about values, family values. Have a listen to this.
She's a great American who cares deeply about the future of the country that our kids will inherit. Our kids have seen and done a lot on the trail, from playing on the famed Field of Dreams baseball site in Iowa to making their first snowman in New Hampshire. They are one of the reasons we fight so hard for what we believe in.
And what exactly does Ron DeSantis believe in? What does he believe in? banning books, talking about how our children are being indoctrinated every day when they're not, attacking the trans community. What exactly are Ron DeSantis' family values? That's the question that I would ask. Attacking anything and everyone that might look differently than you, attacking anything and everyone that might have a different, sexual, I guess you could say preference than you. It's absolutely ridiculous. So Ron DeSantis never resonated with most Republicans. But if you ask most Trump supporters, they would tell you that their second choice was probably Ron DeSantis. In this case, maybe Nikki Haley, who also has absolutely no chance. So while all this stuff is going on, then there's Tim Scott, because you're hearing all these half-ass endorsements from all these Republicans out there, whether it be Ron DeSantis backing out of the race or somebody like Tim Scott, who I certainly believe wants to be Donald Trump's vice presidential running mate. And this is a really embarrassing moment live on CNN with Dana Bash, where Tim Scott is asked about the hypocrisy of Donald Trump, because Scott always talks about how we need to bring people together, right? We need to find somebody that will bring people together. And by the way, Tim Scott has just recently endorsed Donald Trump. So listen to the question by Dana Bash asked of Tim Scott, who doesn't answer the question or avoids it.
Senator, you ran a very positive, very hopeful campaign. But victimhood and grievance that you were describing in your launch speech that we played some of right there sounds like Donald Trump. Did you change your mind?
No, listen, we absolutely, positively, unequivocally need an America that's not filled with victims. I'm actually talking about how Joe Biden has destroyed our economy and made victims out of people waiting for the government to show up.
The question wasn't about Joe Biden, Mr. Scott. The question was about Donald Trump. Why is it when I ask so many Trump supporters and I pin them in a corner to some of the despicable statements that Donald Trump makes, they always turn it to Joe Biden? The question, Mr. Scott, wasn't about Joe Biden. It was about Donald Trump. You talked about victimhood and victim. Every single word out of Donald Trump's mouth for months, he is talking about him being the victim. They're doing this to me. They're doing that to me. And is it a shocker that Tim Scott doesn't answer the question? Well, to ask about this and many other things happening in the country right now, last time we had this guy on, we had like this outage, and it was like 3-4 block radius everywhere. In my 20-year radio career, I've never had that happen live on the air. But this guy's a media personality, a very popular one at that. He's a radio and TV pundit. He makes no apologies for being a Christian conservative, and we're very happy to have Carmine Sabia back on the show with us. Carmine, it's good to see you. Thanks so much for coming on with us again. How are you, sir?
Good to be here, Brian. I brought the belts. I brought the belts, man.
I like that. I like that. All right, so Carmine, last time you were on, our interview was cut short. We were talking a little bit about Donald Trump. We'll get to that, but I want to get your first reaction to Ron DeSantis, who just announced yesterday that he was backing out of the campaign. Any surprise to you? What was your reaction to it?
I was surprised it was a Sunday. I thought he would do it on Wednesday after New Hampshire. That was my guess. I think Nikki Haley will do it before South Carolina, because who wants to get humiliated in their own state, and she'll get trounced there. I was surprised. I was done with work for the day. I did my videos, did my stories, and I'm getting ready to relax, watch some Sopranos rewatch, and all of a sudden Bulletin comes over, and I'm like, see, even he was surprised.
Your dog's surprised as well. Yeah.
All of a sudden Bulletin comes over. Stop it, baby. All of a sudden Bulletin comes over that DeSantis drops out, and I'm like, whoa. Yeah. I didn't expect it like this. He canceled the Sunday, Meet the Press and CNN State of the Union, and he canceled events that were removed from his website. So I knew it was coming, and right. You get people online saying, "Oh no, the campaign says it's just it's because you don't know politics." He's out,
right?
But I didn't expect the official announcement until after New Hampshire. The part that surprised me the most was the shot at Nikki Haley on the way out. Mm-hmm. But I think that was kind of part of the take me back into the MAGA fold thing. That It wasn't enough to endorse Trump. Mm-hmm. He had to torpedo Nikki Haley too, to get welcomed back. And today I see a lot of people on the Republican side like, "Oh, I'm still DeSantis and never Trump." And I'm like, well, then you're just voting for Joe Biden. I mean, if your idea is that you were DeSantis or bust, well, let me take you back to 2016 when the Bernie bros were Bernie or bust. That put, in my opinion, that put Donald Trump in the White House. They were so into their, their Bernie Sanders thing, they refused to vote for Hillary Clinton. And I think that hurt her bad. And so Trump's going to have to work to get the DeSantis people back on board. You can't just point the finger at them and say, look, we got to get Joe Biden. Joe Biden's, he's the guy we're against. We're not against each other.
Okay, but explain this to me. And I agree with a lot of what you said about Ron DeSantis, but how can you hate Joe Biden this much, or maybe hate his policies this much, that you would be willing to support a guy that is facing 91 felony counts, a man that is a liable sexual assaulter, a man who has kids with multiple ex-wives, 25 women that have accused him of sexual assault or rape, a man that has had yes people around him his whole life who wants to rip up parts of the Constitution, but yet you're willing to I'm assuming you're willing to put all that stuff aside and say, you know what? I hate Joe Biden so much, I'm still going to vote for that guy that's probably going to be a convicted felon.
Sure. I don't hate Joe Biden. I hate his policies. I don't hate is a strong word. I'm a conservative. That being said, I understand with the 91 felony counts. It's a nice talking point. Let's just keep saying 91 felony counts.
Why is that a talking point? He's facing 91 felony counts, including the Espionage Act. I think a talking point is talking about Hunter Biden's laptop.
I can indict a pair of shoes, especially if you give me a jury in New York or Chicago or DC or Los Angeles. You get the right, and you're right. I think he will be convicted in New York or Chicago or Los Angeles or DC. You put me in a room, it's like this wolf is on trial, and here's his jury, a bunch of sheep. You know what I'm saying?
Why is it always victimhood with Donald Trump? Why is it hard for you just to say that, you know what, Donald Trump did some really bad things. He probably broke the law. He defied a subpoena for a year. Why is it always, well, the jury's tainted. It's George Soros. It's the Democrats. Like, I don't understand that.
Because I don't think if he's anybody else, he gets indicted. I think that you look at Letitia James, you look at Fannie, the philanderer Willis, and you.
I don't think anybody else would have done what he did. I agree with you. It wouldn't have been anybody else. He defied a subpoena for a year. This is a guy that
I'm not saying he didn't make mistakes. I'm not saying he made mistakes, but to indict a former president on something that's really, at the end of the day, not serious. You say espionage.
You don't think the Espionage Act is serious?
I think if it was applied in a situation where he was actually committing espionage, yes. But this
you don't think taking classified documents to Mar-a-Lago, very classified documents. We have audio of it. We've heard it. I know you have, showing it to people that didn't have any security clearance at all. You don't think that's serious?
I think it's a lot safer than putting it in the floor next to your Ferrari in an unlocked garage.
Then why did okay, let's go with that. Then why did Joe Biden and his attorneys cooperate immediately? And why did Donald Trump defy a subpoena for a year?
They cooperated after Trump got caught, and they were like, hey, let's not get caught in this. Let me ask you this question. I understand how the president gets classified documents and takes them out of the SCIF. I understand how the vice president gets classified documents, take them out of the SCIF. How the hell does a senator get classified documents and take them out of the SCIF?
Well, the difference being, and I don't condone people making mistakes, but if Donald Trump just complied and he did what the DOJ asked him to do and didn't defy a subpoena, maybe he wouldn't be facing some of these counts. What does Donald Trump have to hide? What does he have to hide?
I think it's his ego. I think it's his ego played a role there and said, these are my documents. I don't have to give them back.
Well, then he's an idiot, because you're saying he's taking his ego and putting that ahead of a subpoena, defying a subpoena. Wouldn't that make him a moron?
No, not doing make him a moron. It makes him a guy who has a big ego. Some guys have big egos. I think that.
So that's what you would say if somebody defies a subpoena for a year, you would say, "Oh, don't worry about it. He just has an ego." No, you would call them an idiot.
We'd have to ask Hunter Biden about that.
Hunter Biden's a private citizen. He's not running for president.
But he's defying a subpoena. Is he an idiot?
Hunter Biden has been willing to testify publicly, and the idiots are Comer and the Republicans that don't want to hear him.
He's willing to testify publicly because he knows those are 5-minute sound bites. They're limited to 5 minutes. If you testify in private, you're going to actually get hammered with questions.
The transcript, Comer said if he testified privately, they wouldn't even release the transcripts. You want to talk about no transparency? I don't blame Hunter Biden. And this is all going on while the people there, like the Jim Jordans, have defied subpoenas themselves. This isn't Jim Jordan because he has an ego. It's Jim Jordan because he doesn't want to have to answer questions under oath The same reason why Donald Trump defied a subpoena for a year, because he knew he effed up big time. And same reason why he hasn't wanted to show his tax returns. I mean, to me, it adds up. When it was Donald Trump himself who said, if you plead the fifth, you're probably guilty. How many times has Donald Trump and members of his family pleaded the fifth since he got into office?
I disagree with Trump. I don't think that pleading the fifth means you're guilty. And I think he probably got better advice from his attorneys who know better, who said to him, no, that's not the case. You plead the fifth because you don't want your words to come back, get twisted, and used against you like these guys are going to do. Look, you and I both know Alvin Bragg has a BS case. It's a nonsense case. Sorry, the kids are getting out of school.
That's okay.
It's a nonsense case that almost no other DA would have brought, but he'll get a conviction in New York because it's New York. And Brian, let's be honest with each other. You and I both know if you took me right now to a DC court and said that guy who's 46 years old caused the Hindenburg disaster, you'd get a conviction.
I disagree with you 100% there. I think there has to be evidence. I agree with you that Bragg's case is probably the weakest of the four indictments. But you know what? Here's what I would say to that. And you can tell me whether you disagree. First off, don't commit campaign finance violations. That's number one. Number two, maybe when you're running for president, just maybe it might not be a good idea to cheat on your wife with a porn star unprotected months after Barron was born. Maybe that's not such a good idea to behave that way if you want to go into public office.
Bill Clinton got a second term.
I'm not defending Bill Clinton, but Carmine, you know that's whataboutism. I'm talking about the guy who you support right now.
I don't know if I believe any president in modern history, save for maybe Barack Obama, didn't cheat on their wife. I don't think Barack Obama did. He doesn't strike me as that type of guy. And I think Biden would need to be intravenously injected with Viagra in order to cheat on his wife. So I don't think that happened.
Well, I mean, we can go back to that, but the bottom line here is comparing Joe Biden to Donald Trump when it comes to how they treat women is absurd. There is no comparison there. You got a guy that's facing 25 women that have alleged that he committed sexual assault. He's already a proven liable sexual predator.
No, that's not proven. That's a liability in a New York courtroom.
A jury found that he sexually.
You tell me right now, you're a smart guy. You're a smart guy. You've read what E. Jean Carroll has written. You're going to tell me right now you believe her. You believe
here's the difference.
Her story.
So here's the difference. It doesn't matter whether I believe it or not. And by the way, here's why I do believe it. But a jury found that he was liable for sexual abuse. Carmine, here's why I believe it. I go to history. Listen, if this was a guy that was married or had the history of a Joe Biden, for example, who didn't have 25 women, including his ex-wife, in court documents that said that Donald Trump raped her. If he didn't have all this past and cheating on every spouse he's ever had and bragging about sexual assault on a videotape, then Carmine, I'm with you. I would say, well, you know what? I don't know if this happened or not, but I'm going to look at you right now and I'm going to say, absolutely. Look at the history of Donald Trump and the piece of human trash and the way he's treated women his entire life.
And this
yes,
is whataboutism. This is whataboutism that you don't like, right? But then I could say, well, let's look at, the history of George Floyd. Let's look at the history of guys who have been shot by police who have a rap sheet 10 miles long. That doesn't necessarily mean.
No, it's completely.
That doesn't mean the cop who killed them.
It completely.
That was not wrong just because that guy has a rap sheet. You can't assume guilt by history. That's not fair.
You asked. So I'm not assuming. I'm going by what a jury decided. Let's be very clear on that. That's number one. Now, you asked for my opinion. Yeah. And a part of what leads me to believe that the difference between George Floyd and this is where I think you're wrong. We actually have video of how George Floyd died. We have a convicted murderer.
Well, let's say you didn't have video. Let's say you never. The cop is guilty as hell. By the way, I'm never, ever defending Chauvin.
Right.
He's a murderer.
Why is it so many MAGA supporters do?
I don't know. I can't answer for them.
You don't hear Democrats. You don't hear Democrats raising their hands and saying that George Floyd, he deserved it. Why is it always people on the right?
No, but did he deserve a statue? I don't know if I would have given him a statue.
I didn't say that, but that's not what I'm asking. He's not George Floyd is not a hero. Let me be clear on that. Yeah. He's not a hero. However, he is a symbol of what sometimes minorities in this country have to deal with when it comes to law enforcement. And I agree with you. His past shouldn't have anything to do with what happened in that moment.
I've had cousins who were on drugs, white like me, who were roughed up by police. I think it's less about color than it is about circumstance. Now, you go
if George Floyd was white, would the same thing have happened to him?
If what?
If George Floyd was white, does the same thing happen to him?
If he has the same history with the cops who probably know him, yeah, I think so. I think so.
I don't believe if George Floyd was white, that would have happened. If Ahmaud Arbery was white, would he have been killed the way he was? Murdered?
No, that I don't think.
Okay. All right. So we're getting a little off kilter, but I think we agree on that. Going back to Donald Trump, he is a liable sexual abuser. Whether you agree with the jury's
you can
decision
repeat that all day long, but I don't think every jury gets it right. I don't think Casey Anthony's jury got it right. I don't think O.J. Simpson's jury got it right. I don't think this jury got it right.
O.J. Simpson was found liable for the murders of Ronald Goldman and Kim Golden. Did you agree with that? He was found liable of murder.
Found guilty of their murder. Yeah, I agreed with that.
Okay, so Donald Trump. It is possible that you might not be a convicted rapist, but you could still be a rapist.
Do you believe Casey Anthony killed her baby?
I believe she was certainly involved in. I believe it was an accident, and I believe she was involved in the covering up of it. That's what I think.
But she's walking around a free woman.
Sure, I think she's despicable.
So would you agree the jury doesn't always get it right?
It's impossible to say that the jury always gets it right, but there's history with Donald Trump. It's not just one case. And let me ask you another question.
Well, let me ask you about Tara Reid.
What about it?
Do you believe Tara Reid? Believe all women.
Well, first of all, that never went to court. Second of all, she's changed her story multiple times. Third of all, she's the only woman that's ever accused Joe Biden of sexual assault.
So you don't believe all women?
What's that?
You don't believe all women, then?
I believe a victim unless there's a history of no other sexual assaults. She changes the story multiple times. It's about credibility. See, that to me, it's about credibility.
I don't think Biden's credibility.
How could you compare Joe Biden to Donald Trump? That's insane.
I'm not, but I don't think E. Jean Carroll has credibility. Listen,
you think Donald Trump has credibility? Does Donald Trump have credibility?
More than her. Some other accusers.
You think Donald? Hold on.
This woman copied a story from Law and Order, went back 30 years, sat in the room with George Conway talking about we got to sue Donald Trump. This is all on record.
So you don't believe her.
Orchestrated. It was orchestrated.
A guy today who still says that the 2020 election was stolen, who is partially responsible for what took place on January 6th, who has lied 30,000 times when he was president, and you're telling me you think Donald Trump has more credibility than E. Jean Carroll because you don't believe her story that was already proven in a courtroom?
In this case, and I'm on record, I don't believe the 2020 election was stolen. I believe it was finagled with. I believe that states went against their constitution to do massive mail-in balloting, and no matter what the circumstances, it doesn't change the actual law. Even though there was COVID, it doesn't say, there's nothing in their state constitution that says, unless of a pandemic, this is how you do it.
Okay, well, we can agree to disagree on that, but why does your guy continue to lie about it? Why is he so delusional? Why does he still lie about 2020? It's an embarrassment to the country.
You say lie. I believe he believes it. He should stop talking about it.
That makes it worse. Doesn't that make it worse that he actually is that delusional? And I disagree with you because everybody around him has told him that, Mr. President, you didn't win. But how can you be that delusional that you want this guy to be the leader of the free world with no evidence of widespread voter fraud, still claiming that he won the 2020 election and it's baseless? And that's the guy that you want to support over Joe Biden because you don't like some of Joe Biden's policies?
It's the guy I want to support over Joe Biden because I keep hearing the talking point that prices have come down, and they have. Prices have come down since Joe Biden got them jacked all the way up, but they're still 17% higher than the day Joe Biden took office.
So prices, to use your term, have been jacked up all over the world. You know that, Carmine.
If America sneezes, the world catches a cold. Everybody knows that.
Almost the entire world, and the countries that we compare ourselves to, we're doing pretty damn good when it comes to inflation and gas prices. How can you blame Joe Biden for the troubles all over the world, inflation all over the world, gas prices all over the world?
Ourselves to have VATs that put people into poverty because they want socialism. What I'm saying to you is, if America sneezes, the world catches a cold. If we get inflation, everybody gets inflation. That's a big driving factor.
And what's the reason for that? Is it Joe Biden's policies, or was it the war in the Ukraine and coming out of COVID? Which is it?
I think it's a multitude of reasons, but I think Joe Biden's policies absolutely played a role.
What policies?
Bankrolling a losing war in Ukraine that they're never going to win is a huge mistake. I think we're costing more lives every day by sending them weapons instead of getting those people to the negotiating table, There are people, there are places.
You think Vladimir Putin is a guy that will negotiate? In his history of negotiations, he hasn't been fair one time. You're telling me you want to negotiate with Vladimir Putin, an evil, murderous dictator who, by the way, Donald Trump, your guy, has never. Why is that? Why is it that Donald Trump has never criticized Vladimir Putin? Joe Biden called him a war criminal. You know why?
You're talking to me. I don't know. You'd have to ask Donald Trump. I have plenty of
criticism. This is the guy you support, and he hasn't said one negative thing about an.
I haven't talked to him about that. Don't
you think that's an important question? This is the guy you support.
Somebody should ask it. But I get his premise. And what he's saying is, look, let's not warmonger. We get more by being friendly with people who are our enemies than we do by going after, attacking, calling him a murderous dictator. The things that we should be
nice and play nice to Kim Jong-un and write him love letters.
Do you think that's appropriate? Do you think it was a good idea for Joe Biden to have a meeting with Xi, hugs and smiles, and we're going to work together, and then get out of there and call the man a dictator?
I want honesty from a president. A word that a lot of MAGA supporters can't spell. Do you think it was? I'll answer your question with a question. I usually don't do that. You think it was a good idea when Donald Trump was 2 feet away from Vladimir Putin and sided with Vladimir Putin over our own CIA and our own intelligence? No. I don't see why he would interfere. That was such an embarrassment for the country. Donald Trump is not strong on Russia. He's an embarrassment. Writing love letters to Kim Jong-un after Otto Warmbier. I spoke to Otto Warmbier's mother. Okay. They murdered him. And yet Donald Trump took the side of Kim Jong-un. Oh, well, he told me he didn't know anything about it. That is the definition of weak. And Joe Biden would never talk like that. Never.
No, he would just send billions and billions of dollars to Iran to sponsor terrorism all over the Middle East, which is worse.
Well, first of all, those assets were frozen and they were supposed to be used and allocated for different reasons.
And
so
do you believe that Iran is allocating them the way they're supposed to allocate them?
I don't think we should be supporting Iran at all. Okay. I don't think we should be sending them any money. And I agree with you, but you cannot defend the behaviors and the way that Donald Trump treats evil, murderous dictators. That's not tough. To me, that's not tough. Oh, yeah. And by the way, why is it MAGA supporters forget that it was actually China that created the virus known as COVID during the Donald Trump administration? He talks such a tough game. This wouldn't have happened under my watch. Then why did we get a global pandemic under Donald Trump? Why do MAGA Republicans never want to talk about that?
You can't blame him for what China did. Yeah, I wouldn't blame Joe Biden for what China did.
Then you know what? Then we shouldn't blame Joe Biden for the war in the Ukraine. We shouldn't blame Joe Biden for inflation. Yes, you do.
I don't blame Joe Biden for the war in Ukraine. I blame him for prolonging the war in Ukraine. It's a big difference.
You think you like Donald Trump and what he did in his response to COVID? It's going to be gone by Easter, 15 cases down to 0, holding coronavirus press conferences like they were campaign rallies. Do you support that?
Anthony Fauci said some of the same stuff when it first started. Anthony Fauci talked about no need for masking. This is probably not going to become widespread. It probably won't come in a pandemic. He said it probably wouldn't even get over here from China. People didn't know. Trump's listening to people that didn't know either.
So you think he was listening to Dr. Fauci when he talked about possibly injecting yourself with disinfectant?
Oh, God. Let's not go back to this.
Let's go back to it. Let's go back to it. So if he's not a doctor, then why would he be the biggest dumbass in the world and bring something like that up?
I would say that he was. Here's my defense of it.
Okay.
There are medical disinfectants, and I believe he was talking about those things. I don't think he was.
Why is it always when he says something stupid? It's always, well, here's what I think he was trying to say. No, why, Carmine? Why can't you just say Trump sounded like a fool bringing up injecting yourself with disinfectant? Somebody died because of it.
Let me tell you. Well, then that's a fool. But let me tell you something.
Oh, welcome to the MAGA base, Carmine.
Let me tell you. Listen, bro. AOC. Okay, that's all I got to say. What about dumb people?
Did AOC talk about injecting yourself with disinfectant during COVID? I didn't know that.
Oh my God, no! She's talking about
one thing she said that is just as dumb and possibly a threat to our democracy than lying about an election and saying you should inject yourself with disinfectant.
What is a threat to our democracy? I think a threat to our democracy is removing a candidate from the ballot and not giving people a chance to vote for him. Saying, nope, you only got one choice, Joe Biden. That's a threat to democracy.
That's not going to happen, and the Supreme Court is not going to allow that to happen.
But they are trying to do it. But the Democrats are trying to do it.
Okay, well, I wouldn't characterize it as the Democrats are trying to do it, but I would also say that when you're talking about a man who said he wants to rip up parts of the Constitution, your guy who still lies about the
Where did he say
2020
that? Where did
election,
he
I
say that?
think
What's
that's
the exact quote? What's the exact quote?
what? About the Constitution?
Mhm.
He said, I don't have the quote right in front of me. I can find it for you. But he has talked about ripping up certain parts of the Constitution, and he went on Truth Social and he talked about it. I could gladly look it up for you. It's not a lie. I mean, he went on Truth Social and he said it. There were parts of the Constitution that he wanted to rip up. So these constitutionalists that support Trump, it doesn't really make any sense to me. But let's talk about gun control, Carmine.
Well,
And by the way,
real quick,
yeah, go ahead.
did former President Barack Obama complain about being constrained by the Constitution?
Complaining about being constrained by the Constitution is very different than saying you want to rip up parts of the Constitution.
Okay, so
Clearly, you know that.
Is the Supreme Court the final word in the law of the land?
For the most part, yeah, for the most part.
So
I'm
when
not
they
very
say-
comfortable with that, but yeah, that's how it works.
So when they say you can't give student loan forgiveness and you find a workaround that you know the court is going to knock down again when you get back to the Supreme Court because you want to get votes from young people, is that going against the Constitution?
So
Why
Joe
is that
Biden,
the Supreme
I'll
Court?
answer that. Joe Biden made a promise that he would do everything he possibly could to end student loan forgiveness, which is, by the way, something that I agree with. And I find it very interesting that so many MAGA Republicans that took their PPE loans and never paid any of those loans back are against student loan forgiveness. It is
Why would I forgive it? You're an adult. You took out a loan.
there
Why would I-
are tons of
What
people.
about Johnny down the street who paid $100,000 and paid his loan off? Why do you get to get a free ride?
I'll tell you why. Because there are a lot of people in this country that are living paycheck to paycheck that are struggling and can't afford to pay off their loans.
But
And I'm
is it
trying to
my
point out.
fault- Is it my fault that you took a major in transgender monkeys out of Africa? Is that my fault that was
I
your
don't-
major?
I don't know what you're talking about. I think everybody has a different circumstance, and there's a lot of good, hardworking Americans in this
You
country.
got
That are
you
struggling.
got your major in women's studies. What job did you think that was going to get you?
I don't know what education or what you majored in has to do with this conversation. I'm trying to point out hypocrisy to you. I know
What I'm saying to
people
you
that
is, but what I'm saying to you is, another adult person should not have to pay an adult person's other loan. Now, if you want to talk about student loan reform with the, I think, obscene trap of interest that piles on, the predatory nature of these loans, if you want to talk about that and reforming that, I'm all for that. If you're talking about freezing interest so people can pay off their loans,
well, let's
I'm
talk
all for
about that. Let's talk
Wiping it
about
out.
predatory payments or predatory loans. Do you have a problem with Jared Kushner taking $2.1 billion from the Saudi government when Donald Trump didn't send Mike Pompeo over there, but he sent Jared Kushner? But all of you guys care about the $50,000 a month that a private citizen, Hunter Biden, made off of Burisma. Why do I never hear from you guys talking about Jared Kushner?
I'll explain that because I can look at what the Saudi government got from Jared Kushner on their investment and what they invested in. What I can't do is I can't think to myself why an energy company would say, look, we got to hire somebody, guys. Let's all get together. What we're really looking for is a crackhead with no experience. Can we find that somewhere? And let's pay him a load of money.
All right. Why is it that
if he was Hunter Shapiro, would he have gotten $50,000 a month to go smoke crack in the Ukraine?
So if you want to, I'm going to say a couple things there. First of all, if you want to come up with a law that doesn't allow family members to take advantage of who their father or mother is in office, then I'm totally cool with that. But guess what? There's no law in place that says you can't do that. And if you look at Jared Kushner and Ivanka Trump, who made $600 million from the Chinese government, then why don't Republicans ever talk about that? They want to talk about Hunter Biden. Of course he got that job because of who his father is. But there are no laws that were broken. He wasn't in the Joe Biden administration. Jared Kushner and Donald Trump's own daughter worked for Donald Trump. Do you see how much money they made when Trump was in office?
You know what? Let's bring them before Congress and have.
Come on, James. You know that's not going to happen. James Comer and Jim Jordan, they're a bunch of buffoons, and
the Democrats were in charge for 2 years. Where was the hearing?
Because we didn't know until after. We didn't know the details. The Saudi prince has already come out and said, yes, we gave him so and so amount of money as an investment. When we know Jared Kushner was not qualified. He's never been an investment broker. He's never done anything like this before. That's why. And now Democrats are like, wait a second. Jim Jordan, Comer, a bunch of fools, by the way. I don't know if you
I disagree. I think they're great.
Really? You think Jim Jordan is great? A guy that's never passed one bill in his entire life. He's a noisemaker, not a lawmaker. And I believe he also allowed sexual abuse when he was a wrestling coach. I call him Gymnasium Jordan.
I don't believe that.
Okay, well, I interviewed some people that were actually a part of that were abused, and they would disagree with you. What is so great about Jim Jordan?
I think he's a great lawmaker. I think he gets things done.
What has he done? Name me one bill that he's passed since he's been in office.
You're talking about bills that he passed, but he can rally the troops to get something passed.
You just said he's a great bill. What has he done? He hasn't passed one bill since he's been in office. That's a ridiculous statement.
He can rally the troops to get things done.
What do you mean rally the troops? David Duke rallied his troops too. So what?
No, come on. Are you comparing Jim Jordan to David Duke?
In this aspect, I will. David Duke is a danger to this country. Jim Jordan is a danger to this country. Yes, I am. I believe he's a pedophile enabler. This is a fact, by the way, this isn't an opinion. He's a noisemaker. He's not a lawmaker. He's never passed a bill. The facts speak volumes.
What is
Carmine.
Maxine Waters? What is Maxine Waters?
What about Maxine Waters? Why is it always whataboutism? You can't defend Jim Jordan's record. You just said he's a great lawmaker.
And be like, but Maxine Waters is cool beans.
What is he, a lawmaker? What has he done? Name me one bill that Jim Jordan has passed since he's been in office that makes him so great. Just give me one, Carmine. I'll wait.
I am talking to you about what he does. I think he's a great messenger.
And what is this message? Critical race theory, banning books, attack on our transgenders, defying subpoenas. And
the Democrats wrote the book on banning books. You can't read it because they banned it, but they wrote the book on banning books.
Who are the people that are banning books today? They're not Democrats. They're Republicans. And you know that's
banning books. Nobody's banning books. We're saying, hey, Joy Reid, we don't want books about anal rape and dildos in our kids' classroom. Do you disagree with that? Are you on the side of Joy Reid?
So here's what I am on the side of. I am on the side of parents making their own decisions. And if they don't want a book, then they should be able to sign off on something. But I don't want my government. I don't want my government telling me what I should or should not give to the kids. And by the way, the idea that a bunch of 15 and 16-year-olds and 12-year-olds are taking books home every day, talking about graphic rape is a lie, and that's not true.
It shouldn't even be available to them in a school. Now, if they want to go to Amazon.com, their parents, that's the opt-in form. Go to Amazon.com. Go to does Barnes and Nobles even still exist? I don't know, but go there, get yourself a book. You want your son or daughter at 8 years old to learn about anal rape. You can buy that book and you can give it to your son or daughter. Why should my kid have to opt out of your smut? Can I bring Playboy? Can I bring Playboy into school?
Then that's ridiculous. You know that's not happening. And I just feel like
Playboy's more tame.
It's not. You know that's not happening, and that's not true. And I just feel like again, it's the MAGA Republicans that are outside of Target, a bunch of idiots, by the way. We don't want shirts that say pro-LGBT community. I've talked to Republicans that are more comfortable with the Confederate flag than the gay pride flag. Those people are despicable people, and they are part of the MAGA base that also supports the same guy that you support, Donald Trump.
I'm uncomfortable with both of them being on government buildings.
Why are you uncomfortable with the LGBT gay pride flag?
What government does that represent?
Why? Well, I'm just wondering. It represents a group of people that have been discriminated since eternity.
I'm okay with my neighbor having it, but I'm not okay with it on a government building.
So you think the message in a school of, hey, be prideful of who you are, it doesn't matter whether you're gay or straight, you're uncomfortable with that?
I'm against this entire message of pride. I think we have too much pride in this country, too much self-aggrandizing. Everybody's too prideful.
You think gay people are too prideful? You don't think they've been discriminated?
I think all people are too prideful.
Really? Okay. So we have a group of people that have been discriminated against, and there are so many people in your party that still are not okay with two gay people being married. What would you say to them? You want to criticize gay people for being too prideful?
I would say it's none of your business.
Okay, so you disagree with a lot of the Republicans who think
I would disagree with that. Sure.
Why is it Republicans that always seem to be against, gay pride parades? Republicans that are against transgender surgery? Republicans that are against gay marriage? Republicans that are against drag queen reading? Why is it not Democrats that are against this? Why is it always Republicans?
Oh, I'll answer that question for you. You find anything about debauchery, sinfulness, evil, the Democrat Party supports that thing.
Name it to me. What are you talking about? Well, tell me.
You find anything in the Bible that is proclaimed as evil, the Democrats are in favor of that thing. The Democrats
give me an example. Give me an
Democrats
example.
are in favor of legalizing all drugs. Democrats are in favor of transgender.
What
The
Democrat in office wants to legalize heroin?
I guarantee you, if I'm not looking right now, but there is a movement to legalize.
Okay, well, that's a
all
very
drugs.
generalized statement. Can you name me one Democrat in office today that is for legalizing heroin and some of the most dangerous drugs on the planet? Because I don't think there is one, and I think you're wrong.
You want me to Google it? I'll Google it.
Well, I mean, listen, I think marijuana has been obviously pro-Democrat, and there are certain drugs out there that Democrats have talked about, and Republicans, by the way, as well. But to say that there are Democrats out there in office that want to legalize every dangerous drug out there, I think is disingenuous.
It's not a far jump from legalizing. It's not a far jump from here's your clean needles and a safe place to shoot your heroin.
Okay, so we're going to disagree on that. Give me another example of a Democrat in office today that endorses a policy that is blatantly proven to be dangerous. And don't tell me drag queen reading or any of that stuff.
Drag queen reading is dangerous, but no, having young people take hormone blockers and then chop their penis off later on, and then 20 years from now they're like, oh my God, what did I do? I'm not really a girl.
So don't you think,
and jump off a building? That's dangerous.
Okay, so don't you think that an actual doctor and somebody in the medical field and psychologist should probably help making those decisions than somebody who is in the media like me or you that might disagree with a parent doing so? I thought Republicans were against government control, but this is okay.
Okay, so if you're against government control, then you want to eliminate the legal drinking age. You want to eliminate the legal age for cigarettes.
I never said that. Republicans are the ones that are they talk anti-government control, and yet you want to take away a woman's right to choose. Many Republicans
took away a woman's right to choose. Who took away a woman's right to choose?
Republicans want to do that, and
I don't want to do that.
Oh, they don't? A lot of Republicans, like your boy who claims to be a Republican, Donald Trump, I would say the over-under on how many abortions he's had in his life, probably over 20.
Donald Trump said he wants to ban abortion.
There are Republicans in office today that have said on the record that, including Mike Johnson, that if he had it his way, he would ban abortion across the board. There are Republicans on the record.
If I had it my way, I'd ban abortion across the board. But we don't live in a dictatorship. I believe it's murder, and I would not murder under any circumstances. That's a moral thing.
And you have the right to believe that. But why do you want to tell everybody else, a woman?
He didn't say that. He said if I had my way, I'd do the same.
Okay, so if you had it your way,
if you had your way, you'd ban all guns.
No, I wouldn't. You have no idea what you're talking about. I've never said that, Carmine. What are you talking about?
Not you, but Adam Schiff.
Adam Schiff has never said he wants to ban all guns. You're lying, and you know it.
If they had it his way, if they had it their way.
There are people. No, you're Carmine, you're not being honest. There is not one Democrat in office today that has ever said they want to ban every single gun. There are Republicans. Hold on. There are Republicans in office right now. I could name you 20 of them off the bat right now that have said if they had it their way, they think abortion is murder and they would ban it nationwide. Democrats do not want to take all your guns away. That's a lie. They want an assault weapons ban. And I find it interesting that you want to attack Democrats for trying to do something about the 2 mass shootings we have every day in this country. Yet all I hear from Republicans is let's harden our schools, let's arm our kindergarten teachers.
Mass shootings. What constitutes a mass shooting? Because the mass shootings you're talking about
4 or more people.
Inner city gang-related mass shootings of
don't care whether it's a gang. I don't care whether it's gang related or
maybe if you enforced a damn law in New York City or Chicago and kept somebody, I don't know, behind bars, this shit wouldn't keep happening.
Okay, so what would you say to the 18-year-old in Uvalde or the 18-year-old in Buffalo? It wouldn't have had any bearing on what you're talking about. Some of the biggest mass shootings in this country were from people that have never committed a crime before. How about Las Vegas, October 1? That wouldn't have stopped that from happening. You know what would save lives? If Republicans would just stop caring about their A+ rating from the NRA. I've never heard a Democrat running a campaign ad that bragged about their NRA rating. Why is it that
that's their Planned Parenthood rating? How many babies did we kill this year? Yay!
Well, your definition of a killed baby is different than mine. We obviously disagree on abortion, but I think a woman getting access to health care is a lot different than allowing
health care. There's no such thing as health care that involves something dying.
Actually, there is. There was a woman that was told that her fetus was not viable, yet she was going to get arrested and she had to go to another state to get an abortion because Republicans wouldn't allow her to get one in her state. It's despicable. And correlation between
ridiculous.
that and all. Why do we have so much gun violence in this country, Carmine? Why?
I'll
What we're
tell you
doing now
why.
isn't working.
Because maybe if we didn't give kids drugs at 5 years old because they're twiddling their thumbs in class and can't pay attention, we wouldn't have this psychosis. You go back to the 1950s, Brian, the 1960s, 1970s, 1980s, you could walk into an Ace Hardware store and buy yourself any gun you wanted with a driver's license, okay? Now we got more laws on the books than ever before. What changed?
We don't
people
have
had
enough
access to guns before. I'll tell you what happened. You could draw a straight line from the day that all these your kid fidgets to school, here, take these pills. You could draw a straight line from that day to about 16 years later when the mass shootings in schools started. And it might affect 1% of kids that way, but that 1% is really dangerous. So maybe not giving our kids mind-altering drugs from the time they're single-digit ages because you want them to be quiet in class so you can indoctrinate them in your bullshit in your schools. Like George Carlin said, every school you send your kid to is an indoctrination camp. That's all it is.
Can you give me an example of a large mass shooting that took place? It could be in a mall, in a school, where the shooter was proven to be taking altering drugs when he committed the crime?
When he committed the crime or in his history?
When he committed the crime, I would assume that's what you're talking about.
No, I'm talking about mind melding drugs, and there are the guy. First of all, the guy in the dressed up as that I can't remember the damn name of the thing, but the Joker movie.
Okay.
He was absolutely proven to be on those kind of drugs.
He was mentally ill.
The guy who shot up Sandy Hook was on those kind of drugs. So
so you don't think there's any coincidence or correlation with this country having the most guns than virtually any other country in the world and us having the most gun violence? You just think
Switzerland has more guns per capita.
140 per 100 people. You just think that's a coincidence? You don't think that the fact that we have so many guns in this country, that might have something to do with the gun violence and the numbers?
I think it has something to do with the suicide rate. I think it has something to do with the suicide rate. I don't think, listen, am I saying to you that there shouldn't be red flags when an 18-year-old gets an arsenal delivered to his house, like this recent one? And gets tons of ammunition. Am I saying
guess who's against that? Guess who's against that? What you're talking about?
Sure, those people are against
those that are in the back pocket of the NRA. The NRA does not want red flag laws. Those who the NRA supports don't talk about red flag laws. Again,
it depends on the red flag law, because there are red flag laws that are on the books that your ex-wife is pissed at you. She makes up a story. You lose your guns for 2 years.
I agree.
They investigate.
Okay, I agree with you. And that's one of the things I'd like to see. I want to see more red flag laws. But the difference fundamentally, I think, between you and me when it comes to guns, a couple things. I don't care whether it's a gang in Chicago or if it's a mass shooting in Las Vegas. I don't want innocent people to die. That is a right-wing talking point. And Republicans are doing nothing about it. They're doing nothing about gun control. They don't pass anything. They don't want to pass anything. We had an assault weapons ban in the early 90s. Fizzled out by Republicans. Guess what? Before that, look at the gun violence numbers. They were way down. There are things we can do with
assault weapons, though. This whole idea of assault weapons always boggles my mind. If I hit you with a bat, is that an assault bat?
How on earth?
I assaulted you with it.
Can you please explain to me a time where we lost maybe 20 or 30 people because of somebody with a bat in this country?
No. I'm talking about definitions.
And I'm talking about being logical. Don't talk to me about a
weapon an assault weapon. Isn't every weapon an assault weapon?
Would you rather have someone walk into school, God forbid, wanting to kill innocent people with a bat or an AR-15? Don't give me that nonsense. That's
I'm talking about definitions. Of course, the bat. I'm talking about definitions.
Okay, let's focus on the actual real weapons that are being used to massacre our children in schools.
But define an assault weapon, because they'll say it's an assault weapon because there's this modification. Here's an equally dangerous weapon, but it doesn't fall in this criteria.
Let me ask you a question then. Biggest mass shootings in this country. Why does it always seem to be, for the most part, an AR-15?
Was there an assault weapon? Was there an assault weapon at Columbine, which started this whole trend?
Last I checked, they were using assault weapons. Were they not?
They were
okay.
not.
But I could be wrong on that. But I'm talking about some of the biggest mass shootings in this country. We could talk
Virginia
about
Virginia Tech wasn't an assault.
You can name a few shootings where a large amount of people died. But you know for a fact, Uvalde, right here in Las Vegas, the biggest mass shootings in the history of this nation, it seems to me that AR-15s are used. Are you okay with a kid that turns 18, walking into a gun store, buying a bunch of AR-15s and thousands of rounds of ammunition? Are you okay with that?
No, I'm not okay with a teenager.
So
buying
why won't your
ammunition.
Republicans do something about it? They think 18 years old is fine to buy a bunch of AR-15s. They think it's okay. They think more guns make us safer. They have postcards, Christmas postcards, handing their children AR-15s.
Oh, I think
It's
teaching a
sick.
kid gun
These
safety.
people are sick.
No, I think teaching a kid gun safety is a good. I'd rather my
That's
kid
not
learn how to use a damn gun.
That's not teaching a kid gun safety. Lauren Boebert and these morons have Christmas pictures with AR-15s in the hands
Well,
of a
that's
6-year-old.
political. That's political. Come on.
Well, let's just say it's wrong. Why don't we just say it's wrong and it's not doing any good
It's
for society?
stupid. I don't think it's wrong, but
Thank you.
stupid.
It's stupid. Lauren Boebert, as I call her, is stupid. It's stupid when a Republican does that. And by the way, some of these people do that days after a mass shooting in their district. Lauren Boebert did that. You've got George Santos and some of those other Republicans. George Santos used to be in office wearing those pins, those AR-15 pins. How insensitive can you be?
George Santos. Are we going to use George Santos as
There are
an
other
example
Republicans
of
that are still in
anything?
office that prance around with those stupid AR-15 pins. Come on, Carmine. At
Because
least
you should have a right to own an AR-15. Listen, you could find out tomorrow what car is most involved in car accidents, right? Well, it just so happens that it's the most popular car that's sold. Well, the AR-15 is the most popular gun that's sold. What
You know what the difference is? You know what one big difference is? Guess what? To drive a car, you have to get your driver's license. You have to be with an instructor.
You
have to learn how to use a car and drive it safely, and they check your eyesight. Most places in this country, you can buy a gun. There's no mandatory training. They don't check your eyesight. You don't even know how to handle a gun. We need mandatory training.
That's on the Constitution. Shall not be infringed is in the Constitution.
Guess what?
You want an amendment.
If you want to go towards if you want to go towards the Constitution, we had something called muskets when the Constitution was written. They didn't have AR-15.
Automatic weapons existed at the time of the Constitution. I can prove it to you. Automatic weapons were in existence. And what they said was, if you look at the writings of the founders at the time, what they wanted was the people to be able to match the firepower of the government. Now, that's an impossibility today. But if you said to me, Carmine, should a private person be able to own a stealth bomber? I would say to you, if they can afford it, absolutely. I think you should be able to match the firepower of the government, because that's the whole point.
We'd be okay with armed tankers and grenades and citizens owning grenades and tankers.
Yes,
I think that's absolutely insane. Are you sure you're not on the drugs you don't want kids to be on? Because I think that's insane.
The Second Amendment, Brian, what's the Second Amendment for? Is it for hunting?
Should we all be able to own weapons of mass destruction too? I mean, what do you think?
What is the Second Amendment for?
We have the right to bear arms. It doesn't mean we have the right to.
What's the reason for the right to bear arms? What is the reason?
I know, armed militia. I get it. Okay, I get it.
Not about home defense. Not about hunting deer.
So you think you need to defend yourself with grenades? You think you need to defend yourself with assault weapons?
I would ask the people at Waco, but they're gone.
I mean,
I would ask the people at Ruby Ridge, but they're gone.
So you don't think there should be any parameters? People should be allowed to defend themselves with any type of artillery they want. It could be a grenade. It could be an armed tanker. It could be a bomb. You're saying basically you're okay with that?
I'm saying that's what the intent of the Second Amendment was. That's what I'm saying.
I would respectfully disagree in theory to that. But before we go, I have to get back to Donald Trump.
I don't fully trust the government with those weapons.
But you trust Donald Trump. You don't trust the government, but you support Donald Trump still. Come on, Carmine.
Absolutely support Donald Trump.
Why? What did he do?
I'll give you 3 reasons I support Donald Trump.
Okay, let's hear.
Gorsuch, Kavanaugh, Coney Barrett.
Yeah, they're just wonderful human beings. Yeah,
they are.
Mr. Kavanaugh, who loves his beer. They're just wonderful.
You don't love a good beer, Brian?
Who overturns Roe versus Wade, some rich kid who went to Yale, who, in my personal opinion, is despicable with his behavior and the things he said. He lied to us when he talked about Roe versus Wade. Listen, Gorsuch, I have some respect for, no doubt. But you're not going to convince me with him. But okay,
why I support him?
Okay, so you like the fact that he picked these 3 Supreme Court justices,
Absolutely.
And you're willing to overlook all the other things, January 6th, everything else he's done, everything else he said.
I will care about January 6th as much as you care about a summer of Antifa riots that burned down city after city.
Okay, so first of all, never have I ever defended or used whataboutism when talking about Black Lives Matter protest. Of the tens of millions of people that protested peacefully, There were a small percentage of agitators that did some horrible things.
Same thing happened on January 6th.
Never defended that. Never. No, it's not the same thing. And I will tell you why, because
It was a small percentage.
No, I'm going to tell you why there's no analogy. And here's why. Most of the people that were there during these Black Lives Matter protests were there for one reason. They believed in equality, and they still do. They want everyone to be treated as equals. The people that were there, even the ones that were not violent, the majority of the people that were there in D.C. on January 6th are idiots. You know why? Because they think Donald Trump won the 2020 election, and that was an attempt to overthrow our government. And you know it. There is no moral equivalence there. I don't condone violence.
Can we agree that the people who are in the Ku Klux Klan are idiots?
They're racist people that are in the, by the way, Donald Trump is the guy who said, stand back and stand by. Donald Trump is the guy who lied about David Duke. He knew who David Duke was, and then he lied on national. Oh, I don't know who that is. Why is it that the guy, if you want to talk about the Ku Klux Klan, it was Donald Trump's own father that was arrested at a Klan rally?
It's not my question. Listen, the sins of his father are not his sins. My question is, would we agree that they're idiots? I believe a racist is inherently an idiot.
I agree. Ignorant.
Somebody by the color of their skin, you're an idiot.
What would you say about somebody? What would you say about somebody, real quick? Somebody who says, "I don't want black people counting my money in my casinos. I want Jews counting my money." Would you say that person is an idiot, Carmine? Yes or no?
I would say that's an idiotic thing to say.
Okay, well, that's the guy that you support because that's what Donald Trump said.
Do you have that on tape?
Thank you for admitting that.
Do you have that on tape?
Donald Trump admitted to saying it. It was quoted in a magazine, and he didn't deny it. He admitted to saying it.
He's being funny. He's being sarcastic. But
you think that's funny? You think that's funny to make tropes about Jews and black people?
You're going to have to ask Eddie Murphy and Richard Pryor and all the comedians that came before who made all these tropes.
We're not talking about a comedian. We're talking about the guy who you still support or you want to be the president.
He thinks he's funny. He thinks he's funny. He thinks he's being funny.
Okay, but is that funny or is that despicable? Is that a despicable?
I don't find it funny, but I'm sure at the time.
I didn't ask you. I know. I appreciate the fact that you don't find it funny because Donald Trump is not a comedian. I don't think the question is, do you think it's funny or not? Do you think that's a despicable statement to make, to insult black people and Jews in the same statement?
Yeah, if I'm giving my opinion, yes, I do think it's despicable.
Okay, well then why would you support somebody like that?
Because I don't judge people based on one thing or the other. Look, I am at the end of the day, Brian, I am a conservative. I am for the tax cuts. I am for the judges. I am for the laws. Tax cuts for the top 1%. And so what I am telling you, I got a tax cut.
Mm-hmm.
I got a tax cut. I saved money.
So you think Donald Trump is good for poor people in middle America?
He's good for me.
Okay, I don't know how much money you make, but I don't just think about me. I think about the entire country. And the bottom line is Donald Trump gave the biggest tax breaks to the CEOs of Fortune 500 companies in the history of this nation.
You give tax breaks to the rich create jobs. But I'll say this to you. I've never had a job from no poor person's ever given me a job. But here's what I'll say to you. What I was getting to with the Ku Klux Klan is, do you, Brian, believe the Ku Klux Klan, as despicable, as loathsome, as horrible as they are, do they have a right to protest?
Obviously, it is not against the law to protest peacefully. And I don't.
On January 6th, we're protesting peacefully.
There were a lot of people there on January 6th that were protesting peacefully that did not commit crimes. There were also people that attacked police officers that day.
Sure, they should be punished.
Well, then why is it so many Republicans out there feel sorry for them and want to get them out of jail?
I don't feel sorry for the people who committed violent acts. I don't feel sorry for the guy who went into Nancy Pelosi's office and stole. I don't feel sorry for the guy, the shaman. I don't feel sorry for him.
Yeah, I don't either, but I don't hear that from a lot of MAGA Republicans, Carmine. I appreciate you saying that, but a lot of the MAGA Republicans out there in office today, even some of them call it still a tourist visit, and they think that those people that are behind bars, some of them who attacked police officers, what would you say if Kamala Harris right now said that about somebody at Black Lives Matter protest that attacked a police officer? She would never.
For the people who went in the Senate chambers, the people who went in the House chambers should be punished. They should serve time in jail. Mm-hmm. I am against Kamala Harris setting up a bail fund for people who assaulted police officers during Black Lives Matter protests and burned down buildings. But she did it. She did
helping people get legal representation is very different than saying that they didn't do anything wrong and they're being mistreated.
Supporting them. It's supporting them, though.
No, I disagree with you. So you think anybody that deserves legal representation? Anybody that has been
So,
indicted of a crime?
sure,
If
so
you think they all deserve legal representation, that means you support them. I think that's ridiculous.
everybody deserves legal representation. But let me ask
Okay,
you a
so it
question.
doesn't mean you support
Brian,
them. Doesn't mean
Brian,
you support.
so if Kamala Harris went out tomorrow and said, these 10 pedophiles don't have enough money for attorneys, here's a fund to get them legal representation. There's a difference in saying they deserve legal representation and another thing to promote getting
So
money.
first of all, a
legal
lot of the
representation.
people that Kamala Harris wanted legal representation for were people that did not commit serious criminal offenses.
But a
Comparing
lot of people who got that help did commit serious criminal offenses because the fund didn't say, well, only these people are going to get it.
Well, here's the difference, though. Again, a fundamental difference between you and me when it comes to this stuff. Guess what? If somebody committed a horrible, heinous act, they have their legal representation and they're convicted. I'm not going to say it was a tourist visit. There are people in office today, Republican, MAGA
That's
Republican.
not the difference between me and you. I'm with you on that.
Well, then if Donald Trump is a convicted felon, are you still going to support him and will you accept?
Absolutely.
So you're going to vote for a convicted felon if he is a convicted felon, which he will be.
I would not accept the stacked BS 90% Democrat jury in Washington.
Okay, so you don't accept it. And how do you know that the jury's 90%?
Well,
90% Democrat
of people from that area, right?
Okay, but so you don't know then. You don't.
95% Democrat area. I think the chances are you're going to get a pretty Democrat jury.
So you don't know that, but you're saying if a Democrat is on the jury, they cannot make a fair vote in a jury.
Not against Donald Trump. Not in a highly political case. I think it's a total different animal.
Okay, so
listen, if you're looking for somebody who thinks the jury system is a good idea or supports the jury system, you got the wrong guy. I think the founders made a huge mistake with the jury system. I think it's horrible. I think there should be 12 lawyers on the jury, people who know the actual law.
So when it comes to our forefathers, you don't like the jury, and in this case, it supports your opinion about Donald Trump because apparently you think they're all Democrats funded by George Soros. But then when
I don't think the jurors are funded by George. The DAs are funded by George Soros.
Right, I've heard that.
They are.
But when it comes to gun violence in this country at an all-time high, then you support our forefathers, and you have no solutions other than what you mentioned, which was, our kids want too many drugs.
Wait. My argument was, I think the founders made a mistake with the jury system. I'm not saying we should make laws to stop it because it's enshrined in the Constitution. Mm-hmm. So is the Second Amendment. I think every single gun law on the books, even if I agree with them, here's the thing, Brian. I'm talking strictly as a constitutionalist here, okay? There are gun laws that I absolutely 100% agree with and would vote for. But every one of them is a violation of the Second Amendment. Every single gun law is a violation of the Second Amendment.
Well, I mean, I think everybody has the right to bear arms, but I also think there has to be some responsibility, and what we're doing right now isn't working.
And you got to pass an amendment. That's not included in this.
Well, guess what? There's a lot of Republicans that would never do that because they care more again about their rating, A+ rating from the NRA, than doing the right thing and saving lives. They want to talk about. Well, they want to talk again. They want to talk about drag queen reading, and they're more interested in how that's harming our kids than our kids being
gunned down. Harming our kids.
No, it's not. Where's the evidence of that?
It is harming.
No, it's not,
bro.
Name me one. Okay, so name me one child that's ever died at a drag queen reading.
No, we're not about dying. We're talking about messing with their mind. Bro.
Okay, so it's not. They're not dying. In your opinion, it's messing with their minds. Can you give me evidence of that? How a kid went to a drag queen reading and for the rest of their life, their mind was just all messed up and they turned gay? Can you give me one example?
You probably have evidence in about 20 years, but I'll give you an example real quick.
So you don't have evidence now? Probably in 20 years. So I'm just supposed to take your word for it?
We'll have you back in 20 years. We'll talk about it. But
so this is just so terrible, this drag queen reading. I don't have any evidence to prove it's bad, but let's wait 20 years and find out. But meanwhile, I'm just going to attack drag queens.
Okay, so what if we had stripper readings?
Comparing a stripper to a drag queen is absurd.
For the kids and read a book.
Ridiculous analogy. These are not
strippers. Proof that it would damage the kids?
First of all, you don't know what a drag queen is. There are drag queen shows where maybe clothes might be off. Those are in 21 and over places. That's a terrible analogy. Kids aren't allowed in strip clubs. That's absurd. That analogy is
and yet I've seen video after video of these people stripping in front of children at various events.
Okay, well, guess what? I've been to drag queen reading shows, and I haven't seen that, and I don't know where you're getting that kind of anecdotal evidence.
Let me ask you a question. even better. Why do you have to be dressed as a drag queen when you read to kids? You're John, and you're a drag queen by night. That's your thing. Mm-hmm. But you really love children, and you want to read to them. Why don't you go dressed as John?
Sure.
Why do
I'll
you
ask you another. I'll answer. I'll ask you a ridiculous question because you just asked me one. Why does Donald Trump wear 4 layers of makeup every day? Why?
No. Now you're doing what you accuse other people of doing on
No,
this
I'll answer
show.
your question, but I asked that because it's so ridiculous.
Sure,
First of all,
I hate his Tanner. Now you answer my question.
okay, sure, I'll answer it. No problem. First of all, they're show people. They're putting on a show for the kids. No difference that if someone wore a lot of makeup and dressed up as whoever.
And you
They're
think it's
putting on a
appropriate
show for
for kids?
children.
You
And
think
guess
it's
what?
appropriate?
If you can show me evidence, in your opinion, it's inappropriate. Guess what? We live in a free country.
No, I
Don't
asked you if you believe it's appropriate for children.
I don't have any problem with it at all. In fact, if the message is be happy with who you are, man, woman, whatever you are, be happy with it. Absolutely. I've been to some drag queen readings, and guess what? Everybody had a great time. Everybody was happy. There was nothing inappropriate.
What if you're a pedophile? Should you be happy with who you are?
What does that have to do with drag queen reading?
What if you're a serial killer? Should you be happy with who you are?
There's no evidence that anyone has killed anybody at
No,
drag.
but you're saying people should just be happy with who they are.
First
There's
of all,
messed up people in the world. They shouldn't be
you're
happy with who they are.
comparing a serial killer to a drag queen. Do you realize how ridiculous?
I'm saying if you've got a mental disease, and I believe if you're a boy,
Okay, so every drag queen is now mentally ill. So now you're a psychologist, and you can get
Absolutely.
into every drag queen.
I'm a psychologist.
Okay.
If you're born a man and you think you're a woman, there's a screw loose.
Okay, so
Brian,
not
there's
every
a screw loose.
not every
What if
drag
I
queen.
came on this show today and I said to you, Brian Shapiro, I think I'm a humpback whale. I believe it. I'm going to go to the water right now and I'm going to live there.
Well, not every drag queen.
believe
First
I'm
of
a
all,
humpback whale. What would you say to me?
well, first of all, I think you shouldn't talk about Donald Trump like that, number one. And number two, there's no evidence to support your theory
I was talking
that
about Stacey Abrams, but go ahead.
every drag queen reader thinks that they're the opposite sex just because they wear other clothing and put on a costume. If I put on women's clothing for Halloween, does that mean I want to be a woman? Your theory is absurd and it's based on no evidence. Not every drag queen reader.
So then I am.
By the way,
I am fine with Drag Queen Story Hour on October 31st.
Okay, so what? So don't bring your kids to drag queen reading, but stop telling other parents what to do. There's no evidence.
Sure, absolutely. No, absolutely. If Johnny Library wants to have Drag Queen Story Hour, and you bring your child to it, you have every right to bring your child to it.
Here's what I want to do.
No issue with that.
I want you to come in studio when you're in town, when you're in Las Vegas. You're welcome, Carmine, and I will dress up in drag for you. How do you feel about that?
My brother lives in Las Vegas. I'll have him come to the studio. I'll take you up on the.
Fair enough. Here's the thing: I absolutely have a ton of respect for you, Carmine, because you're willing to come on the show. I thought this was going to be 20 minutes. It's almost been an hour. It's been a fun debate.
Had a great time.
We've talked about a lot of different topics, a lot of topics that we disagree with, but that's why I love having you. Give out that information. You are a great follow on social media. Give out the information. How can people follow you and read your articles?
Just put in my name at Carmine Sabia. Check out Explain America on YouTube and Facebook. At Carmine Sabia on Facebook and YouTube as well. And the Twitter, X, whatever it's called these days. And follow me on there. Brian, listen, man, it's election year. I hope to be back on a lot more. I love these conversations, brother.
Love to have you back. I don't know how the Democrats people feel about that, but I'll read the comments, but that's okay. It doesn't matter. There's a lot of people that don't like me. But I love having you on, Carmine, and you're welcome back anytime. And I appreciate the conversation, my friend. You have a good rest of your Monday. Okay, my friend?
You too, man. God bless you.
Carmine Sabia, everybody. I love having him on. I really do. It's a good discussion. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take a break. And when we come back, I'm going to take phone calls. I want to hear from you. That was an hour-long debate. I'm a little bit exhausted, I'll be honest with you. If you're watching on Occupy Democrats, click that subscribe button. It's $5 a month. You support what I do. I'm going to take some phone calls when we come back. 702-221-7283. And again, that number, if you would like to be a part of the conversation, your thoughts on that very spirited, I would say at times heated interview with Carmine Sabia. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back right after this. You're listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP. All right, welcome back. Pushing the Limits. Of course, we're part of the Occupy Democrats Network. Click that subscribe button. It's only $5 a month. You're going to get extra content from yours truly. We're on YouTube, TikTok, Twitter. You can also follow me on YouTube at PTL Radio Show, also on X at PTL Radio Show. And I promised we would take some phone calls. We just had a very spirited, heated debate with conservative Christian media personality Carmine Sabia. And we're going to take some phone calls now. If the phone lines are busy, because we got jammed phone lines right now, please keep trying. I'll get to you as soon as I can. Let's start off with Roy. Roy is first up on Pushing the Limits. Hi, Roy.
Hello, Brian. I don't know where to begin. There's so much nonsense in what the man says. Donald Trump is totally unfit to be in office.
Well, I agree.
And if he's a constitutionalist, how about the 14th Amendment, Section 3?
I agree. I hope I did. I hope from your perspective, I did an okay job. I did my best.
You did fine. Even my dogs were annoyed at what this guy was saying. But, I mean, let's just start with one thing. Let's look at the tax cut he talked about. The tax cut benefited millionaires, billionaires, large corporations.
Yep.
That is a prime reason why we had this inflation, because they're trying to take advantage of this enormous tax cut they got and raise their profits while the going is still good.
Right,
and
right.
Donald Trump now wants to reduce the 21% to 15%. So we'll get some more of that crap if that happens.
Yep.
In addition to that, January 6th, if for no other reason, the fact that he watched this crap and calls these people hostages and watched this for hours upon hours before he did anything, that to me is a crime right there.
You're not going to get an argument from me. He sat there for 5
I know,
hours.
but
He did nothing. I agree.
This guy doesn't see that, and
It's
the
very.
Republican Party?
I think he does. I think he does. He's just very complicit, but I think he does. I think he knows, but I think some of these people hate Joe Biden so much, even though he claims he doesn't. Maybe they hate Democrats so much that they're willing to have this clown in office, Roy. And you're absolutely right. I appreciate the call, my friend, and I'm sorry your dogs are upset.
Could I talk a little more? I mean, he mixed up Haley and Pelosi.
Yeah, you're right.
I mean,
he did do
the
that.
man is unfit. And today, or yesterday it was, he talked about all these forts which were named after Confederate generals.
You're right.
How they were responsible for us winning World War II.
Yeah, but they want to talk about Joe Biden's mental stability. Roy, you are 150% correct. I appreciate hearing from you, my friend.
No problem.
Thank you, Roy. 702, my condolences. I'm sorry your dogs got upset at that interview. 702-221-7283. I believe Shay is next, if I'm not mistaken. Let's go to Shay. Shay, what's going on?
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Go right ahead.
I think, what do you make of this Republican primary race now?
What do I make of the race now? Well, listen, it's what I made about it from day one, a complete waste of time. Donald Trump is their guy, right? Donald Trump is the guy. Nikki Haley has no chance. All we have to talk about now is who Donald Trump is going to pick as his vice presidential running mate. I mean, that's what I make of it. I think it's an absolute clown show. Most of them are a bunch of cowards who are afraid to call out Donald Trump for anything. And it's a joke.
I think Joe Biden is going to have to start. I think he's going to have to start campaigning more in colleges and more younger voters.
I agree. He needs to get out there and he needs to campaign. He needs to be more aggressive. I agree with you 100%.
I gotta ask. He went to that. You remember he went to that church a couple weeks back?
Yes.
And in Charleston.
Yes.
And did you notice the crowd that he had there? It was diverse. But when you look at it closely, it was much older people in there.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you something. I think he has that vote. He needs to start winning over me and these younger voters.
Yeah, I completely agree with you again.
Mean,
yeah, no, you're right.
A lot of people are not talking about that.
Yeah. No, you're right. That's a good point. I think a lot of most young voters, not all, but most young voters, in my opinion, lean to the left, and they're not going to be voting for Trump. I think the biggest issue with Biden that he needs to get to are moderate Republicans, middle-of-the-road people. Explain to them the threat that Donald Trump is to this country, to our democracy. Biden had a great speech a few weeks ago. I want to see more of that with him.
But not only that, Brian, I also think a lot of these Republicans, the reason why they hate Joe Biden is because, remember, that was Obama's VP.
Yeah.
And we know how much they hated Barack Obama.
Yeah, no, you're right. Listen, I agree with you. I think you made some great points, my friend, and I'm with you 100%, and I do appreciate the phone call. Thank you very much. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. We had a pretty fiery interview there with Carmine Sabia. We do have two phone lines open now if you want to call in, 702-221-7283. All right, we're going to go to the residential MAGA supporter, which is okay. Let's go to Julie is next. Hello, Julie.
Hello, Brian. How are you doing today?
Good. What's on your mind, Julie?
Okay, I want to remind you that the purpose of our Second Amendment is not to defend ourselves. The purpose of our Second Amendment is to defend ourselves from a tyranny, from a tyrannical government.
I understand.
I want you to remember that.
So I do, and I just said that. It's a well-armed militia.
We need to be very careful, because if we surrender our guns, we are going to end up as Cuba or Venezuela.
What are you talking about? What do you mean surrender your guns? There's not one Democrat that wants to take all your guns away, so that's not true.
Brian, there is a Democrat that said.
Okay, name me. Who is it? Who?
Give me 1 second.
Okay, you're saying
I had it here.
You saying there is a Democrat in office today, a policymaker?
No, he's not in office. Thank God, he's not in
not
office.
He's not a policymaker. Can you name?
He was at Congress.
Okay, don't care. He's not a.
I'm going to give you the.
Okay, he's not a policymaker, so it doesn't matter. Name me one Democrat in office today that wants to, quote, take all your guns away, because that's what you just said. I know it's a lie.
Hold on.
No,
it's not a lie. I'm gonna
ask you. Hold on, Julia, hear me.
Mm-hmm.
Listen to my question, Julia. I'm not interested in a former congressman. I'm asking you about people that are in office today. There's a lot of Democrats that are in office today. Can you name me one Democrat that is in office today that wants to put a bill forward to get rid of all your guns? Can you name me one? Now, I know it's not true, but I'm just trying to.
The thing is, they are not going to do it immediately. They are going to start doing.
Julie, you can't name me one politician right now in office that believes that, yet you still think it's going to happen. Julie, does that make any sense?
Well, Brian, listen.
Julie, I am listening.
Do you know which country is the most violent in the world and has no gun? Do you know which one is?
What does that have to do with what we're talking about, Julie? That has nothing to do with what we're Julie, let's stay focused. You lose focus. That has nothing to do with what we are talking about. You just made the claim, like you do every time you call in, which is 100% not true, making the claim that Democrats want to take all of your guns away. Hey, Julie, not one Democrat in office believes that. Now, like myself, I believe there should be an assault weapons ban, but that doesn't mean I believe a law-abiding citizen shouldn't be allowed to buy guns to protect themselves. How is it possible, Julie, with all due respect, that you can't differentiate the two?
What is an assault weapon?
Julie, can you admit that you just made a statement that's not true? You're asking me something else now. There is not one. I want you to repeat after me, and then I'll continue the conversation with you gladly, respectfully. There is not.
I'm going to give you a name.
Julie.
Jones. Democrat from New York.
And he is he
Mondaire Jones.
And is he in office right now, Julie?
He said, well, he's not in office, but
Thank
that's
you.
what Democrats
Julie, I asked you to name me one Democrat that is in office today. And just because you find a former Democrat that may have said something about taking all guns away, which, by the way, no Democrat in office wants to do, doesn't mean that all Democrats want to take your guns away. So now that I've proven that you're wrong, can you repeat after me? There's not one Democrat in office today.
Wrong.
Julie, there's not.
I'm not wrong. They are doing gradually.
Okay, name me one law that a Democrat today is trying to pass.
The bomb stop.
Okay,
who passed the bomb stop?
So you're saying that because banning a bump stock is a correlation to taking all your guns away? Is that what you're saying, Julie?
Well, it's going to be gradually. Today is the bomb stop. Then tomorrow is going to be the ammunition. Hey, Julie. Do you know who implemented that? Hey, Julie. Do you know who implemented the bump stock? That bill? I'll give you a hint. He's got orange skin. Donald Trump is the one that did that after the October 1 shooting. Donald Trump is the one that attempted to implement the bump stock. He talked about it.
Julie,
who
Julie,
entered the
in
bill.
this lesson today, Julie, we've learned, or I'm trying to educate you, Julie, with all due respect, Democrats don't want to take all your guns away. That's a lie, and you have absolutely no idea what you're talking about. We've also learned that the bump stock bill was entertained by Donald Trump. He brought that forward. And we're talking about how fast a gun can shoot, how many rounds of ammunition. A bump stock is a tool that somebody could use, and that was the tool that was used October 1. That doesn't mean that Democrats want to take all your guns away, Julie. I appreciate the phone call. You just don't know what you're talking about, with all due respect. 702-221-7283. And again, that number, if you would like to be a part of the conversation, 702-221-SAVE. Carmine Sabia just joined us. It was an epic debate. He's a pretty popular conservative Christian who's a big Trump supporter, and boy, did we get into it. Again, that number, if you want to be a part of the conversation, 702-221-SAVE, 702-221-7283. Let's go to Gary. Gary is next up on Pushing the Limits. What's up, Gary?
Hey, Brian, I have good news for you. And are you sure you don't take 100 vitamins a day? I don't know where you get all the stamina. I want to congratulate you because whether you know it or not, you just broke the Guinness Book of World Records for the most endless and the longest political debate in radio history.
I don't know if I would agree with that. It was about an hour.
I sound sarcastic.
It was about an hour.
I know. I think you only tired. All right, I have one question.
Yes.
Just one. I'll give
Sure.
all your listeners a break.
Sure.
Let someone else talk. My God, what a Monday. Hey, if the Democrats want to win the White House again, if President Biden or a Democrat, in a Democratic Party want to win, isn't it a no-brainer just admit that it's a catastrophe on the southern border and do something dramatic and build the wall, get the money for Ukraine,
Let me ask that. It's a good question.
Israel, and get it over with. And then Donald Trump
Gary,
has much less chance of winning.
So, Gary, it's a good question, and I'm going to try to give you the best answer I can. First of all,
okay,
Democrats have put forth, particularly Joe Biden, funding to put more border security at the border. Guess who voted against it? Republicans. Republicans do not want Joe Biden to succeed. Republicans want to use it as a talking point. There are plenty of Democrats out there that agree that the border is there's an issue at the border. It is a crisis.
It's politics.
Okay, but
politics.
Okay, but
they
you
don't
just
like
made
the language.
Okay,
they
but you
want
just
an actual wall.
But Gary, you just made my point for me. Republicans, really, many of them, the MAGA Republicans.
Hate when that happens.
Okay, I agree. MAGA Republicans don't really care, in my opinion, about border security. They use it as a talking point to go after Joe Biden. And when Joe Biden says, hey, we need more border security, we need more funding, and when Democrats put together a bill that would give them more funding so there's more security at the border, Republicans vote against it. They'll talk about fentanyl. They'll talk about all these bad people crossing the border illegally. But when Democrats want to pass a bill for more funding to address the issue, Republicans vote no. Why? Because they don't care about the border. They just want to use it as a tool to attack Joe Biden so their orange man could get back in office. And by the way, it was Donald Trump who campaigned on we're going to build a wall and Mexico's going to pay for it. He built 16% of the wall and Mexico didn't pay a dollar for it. He was a failure.
Because the Republicans, even his own side of the aisle wouldn't give him the money. All I can do is reach this conclusion for the time being. Hopefully I snap out of it. As far as I'm concerned, at this point in history, democracy is what's hurting this country. I don't know what the answer is.
Well, I think a tax. I think a tax on democracy are what is hurting this country. January 6th, wanting to rip up parts of the Constitution. I think Donald Trump is an attack on our democracy. Gary, I appreciate the phone call, my friend.
My brain hurts. Thank you.
So does mine, Gary. I appreciate the phone call. All right, here's what I'm going to do for all of you. I have a special treat for you coming up. I wasn't sure if I was going to play this for you or not, but trust me, you're going to want to stick around for this. There's a guy by the name of Joey Gilbert. If you don't know who he is, and you might not, he ran for governor as a MAGA Republican. I call him Mr. Marjorie Taylor Greene. This is a guy who got second in votes. He could have been our governor here in the state of Nevada. I had an opportunity to interview this nut job when he was running for governor, and he is a Looney Tune MAGA Republican who will be running for office again. And I wanted to play it for you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a quick break. And when I come back, we are going to play you. You think my interview with Carmine Sabia was fiery, and it was. You think my interview with him was a testy exchange of different ideas. Wait till you hear this interview with the person that I call Mr. Marjorie Taylor Greene. Joey Gilbert is a former MMA fighter. He ran for office. He's an attorney in Reno, Nevada. And the interview got bat-you-know-what crazy. And I want to play it for all of you, especially those on the Occupy Democrats Network, because I know you're going to find it very entertaining. We'll take a quick break, and when we come back, you're going to hear my epic MAGA interview with MAGA Republican Joey Gilbert when we come back. It's Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Hey everybody, are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premier Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
Buying or selling a home is a huge life event that requires guidance from an expert in the industry and community. My name is Blake Wynn. You may recognize my name as my grandfather was the best governor the state of Nevada has ever had. Growing up in Las Vegas, I've come to know this community intricately. Now, I am raising a family here as well, so I understand all the issues impacting our home and quality of life. As the top realtor for the #1 real estate team at Keller Williams, you can have confidence in my experience, knowledge, and track record. When it comes to buying, selling, or investing in real estate, choose a name you can trust and someone who understands the community you call home. Call Blake Wynn today and experience the difference of a trusted expert. 702-540-3311.
Did you know that 99% of air conditioning issues start with airflow issues? Well, guess what? Pioneer Air has your back. They've been operating for 20 years in the industry within the Las Vegas area, large enough to handle all your air conditioning and heating needs, but small enough to know your first name. Pioneer Air focuses on preventative care, much like wellness checks for humans. They believe in wellness checks for air conditioning and heating systems to extend the life of the system you own. So what are you waiting for? Schedule your wellness check with Pioneer Air today. The number to call is 702-831-4840. Here's the best news. Mention this ad and you'll receive 10% off. Call Pioneer Air today. 702-831-4840. That number again, 702-831-4840. Hey everybody, it's Brian Shapiro from Pushing the Limits, the fastest growing radio show in the Valley. And now we've expanded our reach to include live stream ads on social media with over 20,000 daily views. So are you ready to take your business to the next level? Then get in on the action. Our team will put together the right ad package for you that meets your business needs. So what are you waiting for? Send us an email, sales@ptlradioshow.com. That's sales@ptlradioshow.com. and reach your target audience while maximizing the advertising impact of your business. That email again, sales@ptlradioshow.com. That's sales@ptlradioshow.com.
Locally owned and operated, come on down to Academy of Hair Design located at 5191 West Charleston Boulevard, number 150 today to begin your career in cosmetology. There is something for everyone from cosmetology to nail technology. You will be able to have the hands-on training that is needed to succeed in this career field. Call 702-878-1185 or visit www.ahdvegas.com today.
All right, welcome back to Pushing the Limits with Brian Shapiro. That's me. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Glad to be here. And, listen, there's a lot of people in this state, I shouldn't say a lot, but certainly a lot of people on the right that want Governor Steve Sisolak out of office. And the guy we have with us on the line is no exception to that. He is running to try to be the next governor of the state of Nevada. Joey Gilbert right now joining us on the line. Mr. Gilbert, I appreciate you being here. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing good, Mr. Gilbert. I guess my first question to you is explain to my listeners why you decided to put your name in the ring and why you want to be the next governor of the great state of Nevada.
Well, it's actually comes down to, a pretty simple situation here. When I saw what took place after COVID hit March 2020 and just the absolute, failure of a response from our governor and from our elected leaders, I knew not only that I could do a better job, but that every day, Nevadans could do a better job, both locally and at the state level. And, honestly, watching how they handled that and then seeing who got into the race. As soon as I saw Joe Lombardo's name go in after the Las Vegas shooting, after the, disaster that crime has become in Las Vegas, and after him endorsing Sisolak and then Sisolak endorsing him back, I just said, we can't keep doing this. We can't keep electing the same people and expect a different result. So it really just was as simple as career politicians have ruined this state. We're number one in unemployment, 1 or 2, depending on the day, number 1 in inflation, and we have the worst schools in the nation. Mm-hmm. Clearly, the politicians that we've been electing are not the people for the job. And they don't need to be, promoted. They don't need to get a raise. They just need to go away.
Sure.
And again, I'm not a politician. I'm a dad. I'm a father first. Mm-hmm. I saw what happened to these kids. That's what really made me step up was the distance learning, the broken schools, and that's going to be one of my number 1 priorities.
Well, I'll tell you this, Mr. Gilbert, you and I will probably agree on Sheriff Lombardo. I'm not a big fan of his either, so I'll just leave that one there. Okay, so I ask a lot of Republicans this question usually to start an interview, and I think it's an important one. Are you willing to admit that Joe Biden is a free and fair elected president and that Donald Trump did not win?
No way, man.
Why?
No way.
Why? Tell me why.
Because I'm in the Washoe County Commission today, on election integrity effort. Because does anybody really think Joe Biden got the most votes of any president in history?
Can I answer that?
The guy. Yeah, I'm sure you do have an answer.
Sure,
but go ahead.
Sure. And then I would love to give you plenty of time to respond. So Donald Trump's own attorney general said that there was no widespread voter fraud. Also, if you look at the FBI, and there are plenty of Republicans that work in the FBI as well, they said that this is the most free and fair election that we've ever had in the history of this country. Well, hold on, just at least let me finish. You can laugh. I'm just giving you facts, sir. You can laugh at me if you'd like.
Okay.
I'm
definitely going to.
Okay, that's fine. 0-61. Donald Trump's own attorneys were 0-61 in the courtroom. Some of those were Republican judges that were appointed by Donald Trump, and in some of those cases, Donald Trump's own attorneys had the opportunity to show evidence in the courtroom. They did not. So with all that being said, sir, you can laugh at it, but please give me the evidence.
I definitely will.
Okay, so give me evidence.
Let me just say this real quick. So before we get to the evidence, let's just talk about this.
Okay.
So anyone who wants to believe the FBI and our organizations, our government right now, whether it's the CDC, the FDA, the FBI, the CIA, I've never seen so much corruption in my entire life.
So we should believe Donald Trump. So we should believe
Donald
Trump.
You don't have to believe Donald Trump. You should believe everyday Americans that can tell you for
give
themselves.
Me evidence. Then give me evidence.
Brian, come on, dude. You read the reports. There was 42,000 people that voted twice in Nevada. There was 4,000 illegals that voted. Yes, there was.
That's not true.
Yes, there was. It is true. There was
not according to the electorates. Not according to the electorates in Nevada.
Electorates. Listen. You can have your little, opinion, and I'm going to have my opinion. And I do not believe, you just asked me a question. I answered your question. I do not believe President Joe Biden was dutifully elected by the American people. That's my opinion. And I guess, you know what? I'm going to have to be the one that faces that at the ballot box. I do not believe he won. I believe it's rampant fraud. I believe we're going to figure it out. And that's why he had 6 of the swing states shut down counting for the first time in our nation's history on election night and remain closed until they, basically found enough votes for Biden to get in, and that's what happened. And we're seeing it every day.
That's not what happened. They didn't find it.
Well,
there was something, sir, called mail-in. Sir, I gave you an opportunity.
That's your opinion.
Okay, sir, hold on.
And it's not something I'm going to discuss with you long term because you have your feelings about it. No, I just don't really care, to be honest with you.
But this has been your whole campaign. Your whole campaign has been based on election fraud.
My whole campaign is that no.
Now you don't want to talk about it?
No. Don't. First of all, don't put words in my mouth. I told you what my campaign was about. My campaign was about the fact that this entire nation was destroyed by a flu virus that was treatable, and that we knew how to treat them with what medication, and we didn't. and we let people die that should have never died. We're still letting people die.
Okay, we can talk about that. No problem, Mr. Gilbert.
That's what this was about.
Mr. Gilbert.
Voter fraud is one aspect about it.
Okay,
but
no
don't
problem.
put words in my mouth.
I'm not putting
It's
words.
simple.
I'm not putting words in your mouth.
You said
but
this
you
is what
talked
your
about
entire campaign was about.
Election integrity has been
One
a big part of your campaign. It's been a big part of your campaign, and now you're saying you don't want to get it.
COVID. Yeah, they used COVID to get to the mail-in ballots. It was all a big game, as we're finding out.
Wait, hold on a second.
Yeah, right.
Let's back up.
Wow, gosh,
hold on.
This is crazy. This really caught you off guard, didn't it?
No, it didn't, sir, because I did some research on you, and nothing you're saying.
Oh, you did?
Yeah,
did
no.
you? They didn't cut you off guard, so they used
you haven't caught me.
The pandemic.
A pandemic.
They used the pandemic.
Okay. It's a pandemic.
The pandemic. Yeah, they used it. It's a pandemic. Planned for years in advance.
Gotcha.
Look it all up.
Okay.
Anthony Fauci said January 12, 2017, this president will face a pandemic. He will face a situation. Exactly what happened hit right on cue. And again, just like it just did.
So
you
you're
see
saying
the other day
Democrats?
right
Are you saying Democrats created the virus now? Is that what you're saying?
100% Democrats and establishment Republicans. The establishment.
Okay, now I'm
I know,
gonna laugh.
laugh it up, buddy. Laugh
What
it up.
Democrats?
You know,
So it wasn't China?
You know how silly?
So you're
You know
saying
how silly
Democrats
you look?
created?
That's how silly
You're
you
saying
look.
I
Did you
look
watch the
silly?
Super Bowl?
Okay, hold on.
Yeah, you look silly.
Okay,
Did you watch
all right,
the Super Bowl?
Hold on,
Did you watch the Super Bowl?
Mr. Gilbert, let's backtrack.
75,000 people in the mask mandate disappeared overnight.
Mr. Gilbert.
Praise Jesus.
Mr. Gilbert. Okay, Mr. Gilbert, calm down. Let's have a conversation.
It was amazing.
Have you been in any of the ICUs, sir, in Las Vegas or in the state of Nevada?
Yes, I have. I'm actually chairman of the board now of America's Frontline Doctors.
Okay, so let's talk about that.
I've got more experience with COVID than anybody in this
state. Oh, you
do?
Okay,
and I'll tell you something. I do.
Okay.
Hands down.
What
I
ICUs
do.
have you been in?
Treat them right.
What ICUs in Las Vegas
any
have
of
you
the
been
ones in these hospitals.
Which
Listen
one?
to me, bud.
Listen
to me.
I'm asking you a question. You're not answering it.
Listen, I don't have to physically be in them. I've got doctor friends in there.
Oh, so you haven't.
I've
so
got
you just
nurses
lied.
in there.
Okay, so you lied.
No,
you haven't been in an ICU.
I have been into the. Well, I mean, you can't go in the. Have you been in the ICU?
Yes, you can with a mask. And let me tell you, I'll answer your question. I was in the ICU.
They wouldn't let me in the mask.
Sir,
they wouldn't let me in the mask.
Gilbert.
I tried to go there.
Mr. Gilbert, I was in the ICU. I had COVID. I had COVID for 2 weeks. I was in the ICU. I almost died.
What? And God bless you, man. I'm glad you made it out.
Can
but
I
you would have
finish?
made it out a lot easier if they would have treated you properly.
Okay, first of all,
with
let
the
me finish.
medications that are most effective.
Gilbert, Mr. Gilbert, please give me the respect.
No, Gilbert, no.
Can I finish?
I knew this was going to be a little hostile interview with you.
This isn't hostile. You're not. Who am I? Who am I? Who am I?
You are delusional.
Oh, I'm delusional. Are you still on meth? Didn't you take meth when you were a fighter?
Yeah, I'm on methamphetamine.
You did.
You know what?
Didn't you cheat when you were a fighter? Weren't you suspended a year? I know a little bit about you. Weren't you?
Hey, clown boy.
Oh, no, I'm not a clown. You're the clown. You're the clown. I'm not the clown. You're a right wing. Okay. Can I ask you a question? You talked about American Simone Gold. Simone Gold.
You should read a little better.
Why don't you listen? Why don't you listen?
Do a little more homework.
Okay. Simone Gold, sir, Mr. Gilbert. Simone Gold is a person that endorsed you who believes in demon sperm, and Simone Gold believes that women can be pregnant in their sleep. She is the founder of America's Frontline Doctors. That has absolutely zero credibility. So my question to you is, why do you hang around people like that, and why are you so happy that Simone Gold, someone who believes in demon sperm, endorsed you, sir?
Hey, so nut job.
I'm not a nut job. Answer the question.
You're a nut job.
Answer the question.
That wasn't Dr. Simone Gold. That was Dr. Stella Emanuel. So you'd cross that if you got that wrong.
Please
just
answer
like
the question.
You got the meth wrong. You didn't ask the right question. Dr. Gold didn't talk about with demon doctors.
She was one of the people on the front line of America's Frontline Doctors.
So she was on the same stage as this other person. So
do you support her? Do you support her? Do you support Simone Gold and America's Frontline Doctors?
Absolutely.
Okay.
We saved thousands of lives. I just told you missed that part where I said I'm chairman of the board. Pay attention, please.
Oh, trust me, I pay attention.
Important to me.
I pay attention,
sir.
Stay
with me here, bud.
Are you a fan of Alex Jones? Are you a fan of Alex Jones?
You're absolutely lost.
You talk about integrity. You're a big fan of Alex Jones, right?
The mask?
Sure, I'll
answer. Disappear one day?
If you will allow me to, I will gladly answer your question.
How did the mask disappear one day?
If you will let me, are you going to let me answer your question, or are you just going to keep talking?
Higher case
are you going to let me answer your
case count?
Pot him down again. First of all, you have absolutely no idea what you're talking about. You have no medical expertise at all. I will answer your question, sir. Masks didn't just go away. The reason why we don't have to wear masks now is because the cases are down and the death toll is down. You have absolutely no idea what you're talking about, sir. And this is quite frankly embarrassing. And you're calling me crazy? You're calling me crazy?
The case count was higher after he rescinded the mask mandate than before he put it on.
Really? What was the case count a year ago?
Yeah.
What was it a year ago, sir?
1,100 a day.
Uh-huh.
1,100 a day. Then it became
throughout the country? Are we talking about
the mask?
Are we talking
No,
about
we're talking
what was the
about
death toll?
in
And the
Nevada.
death toll? And the
In
death
Nevada.
What
In
was
Nevada,
the death toll?
In Nevada, nut job.
So the death
Nevada.
toll, I'm not a nut job, so
Hey,
stop it
nutty.
with the nonsense.
Yeah,
okay?
you are.
No, I'm
You're
not.
off your rocker, bro.
I am not a nut job. You're an ambulance
Listen,
chaser is what
COVID,
you are.
COVID. Oh, go hurt me. Hit me with the shots, please. I'm a lawyer.
Right,
I represent my client.
You're an ambulance chaser. That's what you are.
You know what you are?
You're the
joke.
whack job.
You're a joke.
You're the person. You have no chance to win. I'll make you a $10,000 bet right now. You will never hold office.
Ooh, you're gonna make me a bet. You know what?
Make you a bet right now.
The people are behind me. Not
I'll make you a $10,000 bet right now. You have no chance to win.
Behind me.
What people?
Listen, I'm not
what
betting
people?
you a single.
Of course you're not, because you're not going to win.
Freedom-loving Americans.
Right, attack Dr. Fauci.
Okay?
Donald Trump won the election in a landslide, and you call me the nut job. You're a conspiracy theorist moron.
Dr. Fauci's a liar.
Oh
Dr.
yeah.
Fauci's
But
a
Trump
liar.
isn't, but Dr.
100%.
Fauci's the liar. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Trump is
won.
true.
You're right.
Yeah, Trump is the truthful one, but Dr. Fauci's the liar.
Sisolak's a hack. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're
okay.
right, man. You got me. Are we done yet? Because this has been awesome.
Yeah.
Destroying you on your own station.
You've been destroying me. Donald Trump, cut him down again. So this guy thinks Donald Trump won the election in a landslide and COVID has been a hoax. He lied on the air and said he's been in ICU units and then said he hasn't, but he's spoken to nurses. He has no medical expertise at all. This is a guy who was suspended by the Nevada Athletic Commission and fined $10,000 for cheating. He tested positive for several illegal substances, including steroids and meth. By the sound of this interview, I will ask you this, Mr. Gilbert. Are you still on meth?
Well, you know what? You can't read because, like I just said to you, they ended up finding 0 nanograms of meth in my
Why were
system.
you suspended for a year? Why were you suspended for a year?
Because I used a performing enhancing.
So you cheated. So you're a cheater.
Yes, I did. Well, you know what? At the end of the day, I have to accept responsibility for it. Yes, I did. I was out of the ring for 14 months. It was what I talked about at the debate. That kind of happens. Stuff happens. You learn from it. You move on. But what you haven't learned is that this entire case, this entire situation with the pandemic has been a completely overblown bunch of nonsense.
Almost a million people have died, sir. Almost a million people have died.
85 to 90% of them never had to die. They could have been treated with the right medication.
You're right, because if Donald Trump, you're right. I agree with you. We finally agree on something, sir. Because if Donald Trump didn't downplay the virus from the beginning, and he didn't tell people not to wear masks or told people to inject himself with disinfectant, 15 cases down to 0, and if we didn't have people like you spreading misinformation for 2 years, then you're right. A lot of people didn't have to die. Sadly, a lot of people, you're like the male version of Marjorie Taylor Greene. Sadly, a lot of people listen to people like you, and they don't listen to actual real doctors, but they listen to America's frontline doctors who you seem to endorse. They have doctors within the organization that believe in demon sperm and believe women can get pregnant in their sleep. But you seem to endorse people like that, sir. So with all due respect, please tell me again, go ahead.
You keep conflating. It's not Dr. Simone Gold that said that. That's Dr. Stella Manuel.
Who's in America's frontline doctors? Really?
No, she's part of Frontline MDs. We're America's frontline doctors. Get your stuff straight. And more people died during Biden than Trump.
You know why? Pat him down again. Again, the guy has absolutely no idea what he's talking about. The reason why is because we've had new variants that were created. The main reason because people don't get vaccinated like people like you who are selfish. The reason why we've had more people die under the Biden administration is because we've had more new dangerous variants that are serious. That's why. That's another right-wing buffoon talking point, Mr. Gilbert.
Yeah. No. That's you being totally uninformed. The Delta, the Omicron were 20x less deadly. 20x less deadly.
Do you know how many people? Do you have any idea that 85% of people that are in hospitals right now are people that are unvaccinated? Over 90% of people that are dying right now are unvaccinated.
Wrong.
Oh, really? Where are you getting your information from?
Yes.
Because I get it from every single hospital.
Israel.
A study in
you're getting it
Israel.
from the
I'm
Southern
talking
Nevada
about the
hospitals.
pot him down again. We're not talking about Israel. I gave you stats from the United States of America. Last I checked, you're not running for governor in Israel. You're running for governor in the state of Nevada. I'm giving you stats from Nevada's hospitals. And you know what, sir? The fact that you live in Reno is mesmerizing to me because I spoke to the guy who runs that hospital in Reno. They had to change their parking lot into an ICU unit at one point about a year and a half ago because they didn't have enough ICU beds. Are you unaware of that?
They never put COVID. Oh, no, I actually was there, and I actually had a friend who's the former CMO walk it. There was no oxygen in any of those beds. They were only putting people in there. They were discharging. Nice try, stud.
What are you talking about? I interviewed the owner. I interviewed the guy who runs the entire hospital. What the hell are you talking about, Mr. Marjorie Taylor Greene? What are you talking about?
Oh, Mr. Shapiro, you're a clown, dude.
Right, I'm
Get
a clown.
on the right page,
I'm a clown. What have I said that's fat? Really? Okay.
A total clown.
I'm a clown. Okay, you're the guy
You're wrong
the guy.
on the vaccine.
All right, Mr. Marjorie. Mr. Marjorie.
You're wrong on hospitalization.
Right, I'm wrong on hospitalizations because you quote a study from Israel.
You're wrong.
Okay, so I'm wrong on hospitalizations because you have a quote from a study in Israel. Hey, dummy, I'm not talking about Israel. I'm talking about the state of Nevada where you're running. I'm talking about the United States of America. Care to talk about that?
Hey, nut job. In Nevada, 65% plus hospitalized have been vaccinated and even boosted. You don't know what you're talking about.
In ICU beds?
I speak to doctors
in ICU beds? You speak to doctors. What, American frontline workers?
Yeah.
You speak to them every day? Those are the doctors you speak to?
Talk to?
Oh, yeah. I know. I do worry about it.
In our hospitals
who?
Every day.
Give me a name. Give me a name. Give me a name.
I'm not giving you a name.
Because you're a liar. That's why. Give me a name.
No. Oh, yeah, because I'm lying.
Okay, so right now I'm going to ask you right now. You speak to doctors. Give me the name of a specific doctor that you speak to in Las Vegas. Give me one name.
I am not giving up any names.
Right, because you're a liar. Because you're a liar. That's why.
Yeah, because I got nothing better to do.
Well, I don't think you do.
Not a doctor.
I think you're no better.
Been helping people.
Hey, let me tell you.
We're the only ones that have been helping get people medication.
I think you're no better than Mike Lindell. I think you know you have no chance to win, but you're doing this just to get your name out there so you can get more clients in your little operation in Reno. You are not a serious candidate. Nobody should take you seriously. The things you say are ridiculous. You are, again, you're like the male version of Marjorie Taylor Greene and Matt Gaetz combined, sir. That's what you are, in my personal opinion.
Yeah, that's what you are. That's what you are.
Really?
Are you done now? This was a joke of an interview.
You're a joke of a candidate. You're a joke. You're a joke of a candidate. You're a joke. I'll make you a bet right now. You have no chance to win. I'll make you a bet right now. Put your money where your mouth is, you fool.
You know what? You're a fool. You're a clown.
Why don't you agree?
Clown Show Shapiro. Clown Show Shapiro, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you. Thank you.
Are we done? Thank you.
I think you're done. You have no chance to win.
Get knowledgeable.
Get
you
lost.
Have no clue
yeah,
what
you have.
Doing
You have.
You're a clown.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. No, you get lost. You get off my show, you fool. Bye bye. Bye bye. Have a nice day. Well, that was a fun interview. Anyway, so, ladies and gentlemen, let's just review here for the next couple minutes, okay? This is a guy who started his career as a professional fighter. This is a guy who was suspended and cheated. He took performance-enhancing drugs. Then he retires, and then he tries to run for office. And he's running for office now as governor of the state of Nevada. He told me that he believed Donald Trump won the election. And then when I gave him facts, like, for example, Trump's own attorneys were 0-61 in the courts. They had every opportunity to present evidence. They weren't able to present it. I also said Donald Trump's own attorney general, his own attorney general, said there was no widespread voter fraud. The FBI said there was widespread voter fraud. Joey Gilbert did not give any evidence that Trump won, only to say that the FBI was lying, that the attorney general was lying, and everybody was lying. But Donald Trump was telling the truth. So then when I got him on that, his response is, we don't have to talk about this anymore. And the reason why he didn't want to talk about it is because he has no evidence and no facts, because he's a moron. Then we talked about COVID. And I tried to give him my experience of being in the hospital for 2 weeks and almost dying. Notice how he didn't want to hear it? No empathy at all. Didn't want to hear it. Then I said, have you been in any ICUs? He said, yes. And then a couple minutes later, he said no, but he listens to nurses. He has nurses and doctors that he listened to. I said, okay, let's go with that. And I asked him to name one doctor, or one medical professional in Las Vegas that he speaks to, that he gets his information from. He couldn't name one. He refused to name one. Folks, this is a guy who's running for governor. This is the male version of Marjorie Taylor Greene. And then all he did, and then, by the way, he started with the name calling, not me. I start every interview respectful until somebody gets disrespectful with me. I did challenge him on questions, but I didn't call him any names to start. He then proceeded to call me a nut job and a clown. And that's where the interview went downhill. But ladies and gentlemen, the only doctors that he quoted was nobody in Las Vegas, by the way, an organization called America's Frontline Doctors. And yes, Simone Gold was arrested in January for her role in the Capitol riot. This is who this man, Joey Gilbert, is happy that he got an endorsement from. Simone Gold, the founder of America's Frontline Doctors, who have absolutely zero credibility, who are a bunch of right-wing conspiracy nut jobs. And this woman was arrested at the Capitol riot. By the way, I didn't even get a chance to ask him about that. I didn't even get a chance to ask him about the Capitol riot. By the way, he was there for the January 6th insurrection. And he was there with his buddy Alex Jones, who in a video, he's chanting towards trying to get Alex Jones' attention because he wanted to stand side by side with the man who said the school shooting in Connecticut didn't happen. And this guy talks about integrity. Let me be very clear. Joey Gilbert can't even spell the word integrity because he has none. He surrounds himself about right-wing conspiracy theorists like himself. I was willing to make a wager with him right now on the air. Notice how he refused to do that as well because he has no chance to win. And yes, he'll have his small right-wing alt base. He'll have that. He'll have some people that support him. But the overwhelming majority of Republicans in this state are not going to support Joey Gilbert. That's just a fact. It's not going to happen. And as much as I'm not a huge fan of Sheriff Lombardo, I'll take Sheriff Lombardo any day of the week over this clown. Yeah, he's the clown, not me. By the way, this is a quote from Joey Gilbert. Fauci said there would be a pandemic during President Trump's tenure, and he absolutely made sure it happened, just as planned, right before the election. Ladies and gentlemen, I asked Joey Gilbert, he thinks Democrats created the coronavirus. Again, there's no evidence to support that. None. Zero. You see, he's used to doing interviews with right-wing buffoons who do radio shows who don't challenge him on any of this right-wing conspiracy stuff. Joey Gilbert on this show said that he believes Democrats created the coronavirus to hurt political candidates. That's what he said on this show. Folks, is there any reasonable person with an IQ over 20 that would believe that Democrats created the coronavirus? Last month, Gilbert claimed that Fauci's profiting off the pandemic and will ultimately be responsible for possibly millions of global deaths from a garbage vaccine. That's what Joey Gilbert said. He called this vaccine a garbage vaccine. By the way, the same garbage vaccine, interestingly, that Donald Trump put forth. So I guess he's calling Donald Trump garbage. A garbage vaccine. Let me tell you something. This vaccine has saved millions of lives, including my own. And Joey Gilbert has no idea what he's talking about, certainly when it comes to medicine. When I was in the hospital, and he didn't want to hear it.
Hey, everybody. Are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premier Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.